state. If you whatever the fuck you think you are. And until we own some shit, I'ma call it like it is. How you gonna be a man and we starving? Go ahead. You know? And you can walk by 5 different houses, ain't a man in either one of them motherfuckers. How we gonna be a man? How we gonna be African Americans? And we out here done. We done, and we niggas until we set this shit right. Trust me when I tell you that shit.
One love, one love, one love. Much respect to the whole family, certified Black society, my foundational Black American Freedmen. We are back at it again. Welcome to the Black Alpha Network. Today is a special episode. I have a very, very special guest. Matter of fact, this is the first guest I've ever had. This is a distinguished brother, a trailblazer in a lot of ways, someone who is a true reflection of the Black grassroots community that is sweeping this country, and he has an overwhelming amount of support from Foundational Black America, Certified Black Society. This is my low country brother. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my brother, my low country brother, Marcel Dixon, Certified Truth. How you doing, family?
I'm doing good, Alpha. How are you?
Man, it's a good day out here in the low country, you know, for the whole family to see. You know, everybody can understand how it is down this way, man. I want to touch up on a lot of things that's going on down here, man. I want to touch up on the Black grassroots. I want to bring the truth to everybody and just elaborate further, man, on what we're doing down here in the low country and telling everybody to come on back home. Come on back home, family. You having a good weekend so far?
I have been. I really have been. You know, it's a Friday. I was able to take a candidate with whom I'm working around the low country, St. Helena mainly, and have him talk to farmers, especially the Gullah farmers. And he was able to have some good conversation with them, learned about the projects on which they're working, and we're working with helping them out and getting him in office. His name is Chris Nellums, and he wants to bring farming back to the average man and woman, and he has a special plan for Black farmers who are ran off of farming. So it's been going really good.
Oh man, I love to hear that, especially, you know, the whole situation with a lot of these Black farmers getting their funding cut by, Mr. Jimmy Crow Joe. You know, something a lot of people don't know about, especially down here where, where me and Brother Marcel is to the family. A lot of this is rural area. A lot of these farmers have been putting in work for this country. There's nobody more patriotic than, a farmer, particularly a foundational Black American farmer. That is the root. So I appreciate everything you're doing on that side of it, brother. I want to get right into it, though. I want to talk about reverse migration and reparations. That's really what I want to talk about. I want you to, enlighten the people how it is down here for the people who have not been to the low country and people who have not experienced what it's like down here. We're going, hey, family, I hope y'all listening. We're going to break it down and show you a lot of things that you do, a lot of the dishes that you cook, a lot of the languages that you speak come from the Gullah Geechee people down here, down south. When I say down south, I'm talking about the low country. I'm talking about Georgia. I'm talking about South Carolina, Florida, Jacksonville, all the way up to Carolinas, everywhere through here. I want you guys to understand that it is a different breed down here. So when you guys hear us talk with a lot of pride and we speak about this area, trust and believe we're doing it because, we understand that this is a unique area and it brings a lot of, a lot of power and a lot of passion throughout, just not here, but throughout the whole country. Brother, can you elaborate to a lot of people what it is like down here with Gullah Geechee and some of the traditions and practices that they may not even know about?
Well, one, we have a lot of the Southern traditions that is done throughout the South, especially the Black American South. Like you said, start here. The word juke is a Gullah word. It's like it meant to get lit, to turn up, to get wild, but usually in the sense of having fun. Goober, which means peanut, a Gullah Geechee word. A lot of the dishes that have spread throughout the South, like people think gumbo, they think Louisiana. But gumbo was actually a dish that was first done in South Carolina and Georgia. And that's one thing people have to understand, like gumbo, okra, first came through the port right here in South Carolina and Georgia. And one thing I really like about our area, even though You know, we have Savannah and Charleston, which are urban. Savannah, not so much more Charleston any longer, is still majority black. It's like close to 60% black. A lot of the rural counties in coastal Georgia and in coastal South Carolina are majority black. So we still have freedmen culture. Like I went to the grocery store the other day and they had crab legs.
Yeah.
The grocery store served hot, already prepared. That's something you may not see everywhere. Like when I show off the food that I'm getting, that's food that I get from the gas stations or I get from the grocery store. When you are driving on the road, you can still see praise houses. And for those who don't know, praise houses were a form of architecture that Gullah Geechee people designed to be not just our church, but also places where rituals were done. You know, holistic rituals to treat the mind, the body, and the soul. And people still use them for worship. You know, the Tuskegee Airmen, they train here. Harriet Tubman, outside of Maryland, here in the coast of South Carolina, was the only other place where she was active, which is why we have a bridge named after her. We have a monument named for her. First Freedmen's Bank is here. The First Freedmen's School is the Penn Center, which now serves as a community center for our people over there in St. Helena, but really for all of us in this immediate area. They also have a Black Farmers Cooperative there, and they have the Black philanthropic banquets there. So I can go on. We have a parkway named after Robert Smalls, a middle school named after him. His home is here for people to visit. The culture, the Freedmen history and culture is so powerful here, and our people are still here. That's why I've been encouraging our people to move back south, not just for the culture, but also for the numbers. Every group is projected to have a region where they are going to be the dominant region. Hispanics in the West and Southwest, they already know it. They host rooms talking about how once they have regional control, they'll be able to elect people in local government, which is municipal, state government, the gubernatorial seat, and the federal government. That means senators. That means House of Representatives. Asians are going to have the Northwest. White people are going to have the Midwest. The Northeast is going to be a mixture of people. But who's going to have the South? That's meant for us. But we have to take it, and we have to come back. In the states where we are already 30% or more of the population, not going by that phony census. The census undercounts us. It's already been shown. They undercount us by a minimum of 10%. So that means in each state, they probably missed 10% of our population. So in South Carolina, where they're saying we're 28%, which you might say 30% of the population, we're probably damn near 40. So we will only need a moderate increase in these particular states to get to state majority. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland. The good thing with all of those states, especially Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina, the vast majority of the population are descendants of American slaves. Our culture, our people, our needs will be front and center. And so is Georgia. Outside of Atlanta, which Atlanta is majority Black American freedmen as well, but outside of Atlanta, there's a very, very small immigrant population in Georgia. It's mainly descendants of American slaves and, white Southerners. So I'm wanting us to get those numbers. If we get Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland, that's 12 senators that we can elect on code, because it's not just a numbers game alone. They have to be on code. That's 12 senators that we can organize to elect on code and send to D.C. As far as representatives go, that's something like 40 representatives we can send to the House. The Black Caucus right now is 50-something. We can send as many as for Black Caucus to the House of Representatives federally if we get state majority. And in Louisiana, Georgia, and Maryland, we are almost at 40% already. So this is already happening, but we just have to get the message out there so our people can think strategically, and those that might be on the fence can go ahead and make that move.
Brother, see, that's what I try to tell everybody. I try to tell them all the time, a lot of my people that I know from up north, I say it is different down here in terms of, like you said, the population, in terms of the culture is rooted. You don't have to, deal with so many tethers and people who are trying to mooch off the culture or trying to blend in or camouflage in. It is really different. I had my cousin, actually, he lives in Ohio. He came down here and he didn't want to leave. He said, brother, I'm not leaving. Yep. I said, why? I already knew his answer. I knew why he was going to say he didn't want to leave, but I just wanted to test him. I said, why is that? He said, because I've never seen so many soul food restaurants. He's like, I've never seen so many hey babies. He said, I've never seen so many. Baby, right. Hey, you know what I'm saying? And he also said, and I know you know this, brother. He said, you got some black folks down here that are, locked and loaded. And he's like, and they ain't just street dudes.
That's right.
See, grandmas, grandpas, and they don't play that nonsense. And I like what you also touched on about, how the demographics and really the country are changing. So the South would be such a pivotal role where we already have that. Now, brother, you know about the Stono Rebellion and it being, please. I said, okay, so I'll be trying to talk to people about that. They don't really be knowing what I'm saying. I think that was in 1739, if I'm not mistaken. I may be off by a year or so. That was the biggest slave rebellion in America, if I'm not mistaken, right?
In North America, yes. In the mainland North America. My nickname, as you know, is Cato Emea. Well, yes, I get that from the Stono Rebellion because, it's sometimes called Cato's Conspiracy or Cato's Uprising. And yes, South Carolina has had two of the largest uprisings or AKA slave revolts in the United States of America. Louisiana is the only other state, another Creole state, is the only other state that is neck to neck with us in the number of slave revolts. So that's one thing. People come here and they love it. They notice that, like you said, we love our guns down here. People think that's just a white Southerner thing. Oh no, come to the South and you'll see black Southerners love their guns just as much. Not only that, we live on the land. You still have black farmers here. You still have people that are growing large gardens here and even large farms. But we also own land. I know it's not perfect. Like I own 9 acres of coastal property in Ladies Island. Well, it's Ayers property. You know how that goes.
Yes, sir.
I own 2 homes, Freedmen cottages, and historic architecture in downtown Beaufort. And I own 10 acres where my grand aunt lives on it. And I have a cousin who has a little braiding studio on it. That right there is at least 19 acres, maybe if I include the 2 homes in downtown Beaufort, 21 acres. A lot of Black American families in the South, especially South Carolina. According to research, South Carolina is the state where Black Americans own the most land. It was Mississippi, but it's now South Carolina. Mississippi had maybe a yard more than us, but it's South Carolina. It's heirs property, so that's a whole other challenge. But we live on the land. So when people come here, sometimes they don't have to worry about where they're going to stay. They may just have to get a mobile home, because if it's heirs property, you can only put a mobile home on it. They may just have to get a mobile home and they have a place to stay. No mortgage necessary. They have a yard. Not only that, they have the protection of their family. If your car breaks down, you have a cousin you can call. If you need something to eat, you have your aunt or your female or even male cousin who knows how to cook. We have calabashes. I don't know if y'all do the calabashes. Y'all do?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We do calabashes. For those who don't know, a calabash is like a fried seafood buffet / party. It's like a social gathering around a smorgasbord of fried seafood cafes. We still do that here. That was a tradition when I was growing up. Every Friday night, my cousins and I, and usually our older cousins, would do a crab boil or a low country boil or oyster rolls or all 3 of them. And we would light a fire and a barrel, and we would just joke and roast on each other and play slap boxing and wrestling. And we still do those things here. You don't have to, and of course, there are Black immigrants here, but Black immigrants here, maybe because they don't have the numbers, they don't be doing all that stuff. I be hearing all that disrespect that I be hearing happens in the Northeast and West Coast and Midwest. Black immigrants here tend to
fall in line a little bit.
Be respectful, right? I don't want to say know their place, but they tend to be respectful and understand that they are guests in this here home. Because all that crazy remarks and stuff, I've never had those experiences here, ever.
Me neither, brother. That's one thing I noticed about a lot of the immigrants and stuff on the West Coast and up north and Midwest. They start acting like they run the show. Like they start acting like, FBA follow us down here. And for everybody listening, I'm telling the world, when you come across any immigrant down south, they understand that this is FBA, territory, heritage, culture, lineage, and they truly do wipe their feet. And I'm not saying it in a disrespectful manner, but they understand and how it should be. You should be very respectful to the people who, created this land.
The only group that is getting a little problematic, and it's not, first of all, let me make it very clear. It's not everyone in this group. I'm not even going to say it's the majority of people in this group, but the only group where some issues are coming from are these Hispanics and Latinos, because now that their numbers in certain pockets of the area, there's still a very small number of them in South Carolina, like 6%. Right. Still a very small number. But in the areas where they have gathered on the coast, they now walk around with this air. It's mainly Mexican kids. I've heard say some very racist, anti-black stuff, but they get checked, and they get checked with the quickness. Like I've had my students slap the piss out of someone else for saying racist stuff. They say we ain't playing that in the South. Like this, I have one of my students. He's a Black American kid, but he always hangs around these Mexican boys and whatever. And he's like this big. But they said to him, all you black people do is eat fried chicken. He slapped the hell out of one of those Mexican boys. I mean, that's how we are. That's how we roll here. And one of them, even when they outnumber us in a certain context, we still let them know you will get checked in a minute. So that's the only group that has sometimes been problematic as far as immigrant goes. White immigrants are not that big here. I mean, we may have the occasional German. So the main group of immigrants here are Hispanic and Latinos. And of the Hispanic and Latinos, you have some that are Afro-Latinos. They don't tend to usually cause any problems. It's mainly in the Central Americans. Central Americans don't tend to cause any problems. I mean, it's really the Mexicans. That's really the only group that, from my experience, people have had issues with being anti-black and saying things out the left side of their mouth. But they get checked. And they get checked here. So I'm trying to let our people know, come back home. There are jobs here. Now, I'm unemployed currently. That's because I'm trying to get a job in my profession. But I know that a lot of our people already have medical background. We need nurses here galore, because you know as well as I do, not so much in Savannah, but Hilton Head Island, right, and like Bluffton, they have a lot of those retirement communities where they need nurses, at-home nurses. You don't even have to work in a hospital. Truck drivers is a big need here. And in Savannah and right there in Charleston, just like a little under an hour away, the ports. A lot of people go to the ports and get paying jobs. Now, a lot of the black guys here and black girls, but black guys mainly, they don't necessarily like the ports because people think of it as like working in the fields. They associate it with slavery because in our area, we built the ports and we were forced to work them. And not only that, working on the ports can be dirty, it can be hard work, and it can be dangerous even sometimes. But it's an easy way to get a job. And if you get a certain position, if they give you assignments, because the way it works, and my cousin used to work on the port, you go there with your card and they give you assignments. And if you are a worker that they know is reliable and you do quality work, you get a lot of assignments. You can get good money. But it's not just that. The South Carolina Department of Transportation, they're hiring. And they're expanding the port. They're expanding it now over here to Jasper County. So the ports are going to have, they're needing people to expand the ports, and they're needing people to now work with the companies that are doing the work of expanding the port. They're dredging the ocean floor. They are doing a lot of logistical work. So there are a lot of jobs here. Schools, because the population here is growing, and I'm glad to say the number one population that's growing are old whites who are retiring from North New England and northeastern states. But after whites who are usually up in age, it's Black Americans, the second fastest growing group in South Carolina and Georgia. Georgia, I think, is number one. Black Americans are number one, or is it Asians and then blacks? Georgia already has a large black population, so the Asian population is very small. It's just growing fast. Anyway, I think it's either number one, number two in Georgia. But in South Carolina, the black population is the second fast growing population, and we are already the second largest population in the state. So it's already happening. We just need people to understand that we can't go to Texas or Florida because, unfortunately, even though Texas and Florida both have around 20% black population, and that's great, we're never going to be the majority there because the white population is so large and the Hispanic and Latino population, and just to be honest with you, they are actually more of a threat to us politically than some of these white Americans are. I'll talk about that some other time. But we're never going to get state majority in those states, the way things are now demographically. But if you go to nearby Louisiana, and you can live right by the Texas border and drive to Houston if you live in Louisiana, if you want to go live in Texas still, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland, our numbers are powerful. It's Freedmen culture, the soul food, the praise houses, the gospel music, the art, the festivals here. Like, you know, we may have a few international festivals, but a lot of our festivals here are Black American / American festivals, like the Watermelon Festival, the Gullah Festival, the Heritage Festival. Those are festivals dealing with our history. Watch Night. You probably know Watch Night. My great-grandmother did it all the time.
Sir.
Yeah, that's a Gullah Geechee tradition. Those are things that you get here that you won't get elsewhere. I can go on and on and on, but this is our region. This is the region where Black Americans are supposed to have regional control. And here's the crazy thing. It's kind of unfair. When other groups have control, they don't give a damn about us. Not only that, they do things that they know are going to hurt us. But when we are in control, everyone benefits from it. It's unfair. We should be benefiting. We should expect to benefit from other groups as well. But when we're in control, everything gets better. We can't say the same when other groups are in control.
It's like an auction whenever we're doing something. They just auction it all for free. When someone else has something, it's me, I keep to myself. You're right about that. I'm glad you brought up Texas, brother, because I remember going out to Texas. I was in West Texas, and you know West Texas and East Texas.
Wow. Yeah. East Texas is like us. East Texas is like South Carolina, Georgia, like Louisiana. That's because that's where a lot of them come from. West Texas is very Hispanic heavy. But you know what's funny, though? The Hispanics, when I was in Texas, and I've only been there once, Hispanics in Texas versus the ones I met in California, Hispanics in Texas were pretty, I want to say cool, but were pretty down to earth and friendly. The ones I met in California, no, they had this air about them. I don't know what the difference is.
Night and day, wasn't it?
The ones in Texas were different.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, brother. It's night and day. I tell that to the family. You're exactly right. The ones in Texas, they kind of just go about their business, do what they do. You know, stay to themselves.
Exactly.
California,
but the ones in California were arrogant. Not all, obviously. And it was mainly the guys were like arrogant and almost thought they were something, like thought they were intimidating, which I wasn't. But yeah, it wasn't like that in Texas. But y'all, we got to get the South. If there was a way we could take East Texas from Texas, like we can get from Dallas to Houston and Galveston and make that its own state, then we would have another majority Black state. But unfortunately, until that happens, Texas, you don't qualify. And like I said, Texas and Florida are two beautiful states. They're states where a lot of freedmen history is located, and some of our people are going to always be there. Texas has the largest Black population of any state in America, 4 million freedmen at least. So we're always going to need Texas, but as far as the reverse migration strategy, the 6 states are Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland. So that when we get our reparations, we're going to have states already where we can immediately build up and make our Black wall streets. But this time, instead of having a street, we'll have the whole state.
Well, plural, wall streets. I hope y'all heard that.
Like we had before, wall streets.
You know, and I'm glad you brought that up, brother, because people need to understand, this ain't the South that you may think of from 50, 60 years ago. The South is very developed. Very, very developed. There are a lot of thriving areas down south that are really whooping the Midwest, the North, and the West Coast ass in terms of a lot of economic growth.
They are.
You know what I'm saying? People think this is like Little House on the Prairie. No, it is not. Though you have nice areas that are, more chill and relaxed, those are for people who want to chill and relax. If you want to go in and get any type of agriculture or any type of economic booms, the South is there. Look at any economic report. You'll see the South is lined up. So like Brother Marcel says, you come home, not only are you going to get the culture, you're going to get your family, you're going to get your heritage, you're going to have people who look like you.
You'll be around people like you from your same lineage, and not around a bunch of other groups that are hostile towards us. Now, and people like to say, well, I was in South and I didn't have a good experience. Oh, well, we've been in America and haven't had a good experience. The best place to be when things go down in America is the South, because this is where the majority of us are. 61% of us already live in the South. We just have to concentrate our numbers strategically. And the South is seeing a construction boom. So a lot of the jobs that a lot of our brothers know how to do, electrical, heating and air, roofing, flooring, carpentry, painting, those jobs are in huge demand. They can't get enough. And yes, y'all probably going to say, Marcel, you always saying how the illegal immigrants are taking all of them. Yes, they are. But it's impossible for them to take all of them. And the only reason they are able to get all of them is because there's not enough of us to necessarily compete with them. If an illegal immigrant shows up with 10 of his cousins that he's brought over here illegally, and he's not really paying them anything because they really do be enslaving their own people, a person who is going to pay a firm to do work for them is going to go with that illegal immigrant and his people because it's cheaper. Now, if we show up, though, and there's 20 of us, we have more bargaining power to bring to the table. And another thing I want to say, of course, the South has a lot of deep, serious issues. Poverty is sky high, a lot of troubled schools, deprived neighborhoods. I mean, I'm living that reality. However, we make the South in our image. We're the people who were in areas where the land wasn't even fertile, and yet we somehow had Black Wall Street springing up left and right. We're the people that went from having just rags to wear, and somehow from nothing, farmed land, drained swamps, areas that people thought were inhabitable, we made livable to the point where white Americans say, oh, we want to live there now. But we are the ones who developed it and made it inhabitable. If anyone can make an area in its image, it is us. So y'all, yes, the South has issues, but the reason it has issues is because of the failure of these so-called leaders. One of the reasons we need to do the reverse migration strategy is so that we can have the people who are on code that we want to put in office on the municipal level, the state level, the gubernatorial level, and the federal level, and they will have the votes to already get them there. So instead of having to beg these other groups to please vote for a candidate that's going to do something for our people say, we don't need those other groups because we're the majority. We want them.
See, I'm glad that too, brother. A lot of people don't understand this, and you're right about it. It's an economic level, it's a political level, up and down the ladder. When Bobby Seale, way on the West Coast, when he started the Black Panther Party, he actually had to go to the library and act. They didn't have the internet back then, y'all. But he actually had to go to the library and he looked at how we can gain political power in particular counties that had the Black majority, and he really was doing it for the South, opposed to the West Coast, because like we said, the West Coast has an influx of so many different immigrants and off-code people out there, and he really seen it in the South. And I've always studied that, and I said, man, if we could duplicate that today in the 21st century, it would be over. Brother Marcel made a great point. It is about being strategic. It is a strategic avenue in which we have to approach these things. We have to approach it from the aspect of, if everybody else is gaining in certain areas and they're putting their, community here or there, we all know that they like to, come to where we are and try to take over. You're not pulling that down South. You're just not going to. Like, I don't know what anybody thinks. This is not California. Much respect to everybody in Cali. I've been out to Cali. Cool. Much respect to people in NY, people up north. You're not doing that down South. You're not just walking down South and just taking us over and running us out of here. It's not happening. This is our roots, family. You guys need to definitely come back home. I don't care if you come home to visit for a while and then stay. Stay for a while and then visit. Whatever you got to do, come down South, because this country is ever so changing. The demographics and the populace is ever so changing. And we're going to look back on this time right now and say this was a golden time for us to really make changes and, to make things different. And I don't want to hear people talking about, well, I was down South and like you said, brother, I had a bad experience. I've had bad experiences way outside of the South. A lot of
everywhere. Exactly. Our people will be hung from trees everywhere. And contrary to popular belief, our people were experiencing extreme anti-blackness everywhere, okay? We've had bad experience throughout this nation, but the South is actually where we've had our best experiences too. This is where our people, that's why our people didn't want to leave. They only finally left when Reconstruction fell and the former Confederates got back in power, and they made economic advancement impossible. And even then we stayed, but only when the Industrial Revolution really started taking off full steam in the Northeast and Midwest did our people finally, for economic reasons, go to the North. But even then, there has never been one point in this country's history where the majority of Black Americans have not lived in the South. Even at the height of the Great Migration, 52% of us, the number never dropped under 52%. Even at the height, 52% of Black Americans still lived in the South. So the majority of us have always been in the South because it is our home region. And the food's better.
I hope y'all heard that.
Right. The food is way, way better. I mean, some people have come. I have literally my uncle who hated the South when my mother and them moved down here, because my mother's a product of the Great Migration. My great-grandparents moved north, had my grandmother had my mother, and then my grandmother said, I want to go to my roots, which is South Carolina, came down here with my mother. And my uncle hated it, my oldest uncle, and he went back north. But anyway, when he was living on his own, he got a truck driving job, and he would drive like down south to
Where was he from,
Georgia.
brother? Where was he from up north? What part?
New York City.
Oh, okay. All right. I had a suspicion.
But his roots on both sides, mother, father, here in South Carolina, Charleston, and then, the Beaufort area, the Charleston area, the Beaufort area, both sides, like my mother. But he came home, and my great-grandmother was cooking, and he ate all the food. Next thing you know, he was moving to Atlanta so he could be closer to home, right? So if nothing else, you're going to move back for the food alone. But here's the thing, too. I know everyone's not going to do it. It doesn't take everyone. According to the data presented in Charles Blow's book, The Devil You Know, only 22% of the current Black population that lives outside of the South needs to return to those 6 states we mentioned: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Maryland, and we can get a state majority in each single one of those states. So for those of you who may not want to move south, help someone who does come here. Right. That's how you can contribute.
Listen to that.
And those of you who do want to move south, treat it like you're taking a trip. Treat it like a trip. You plan for it. You plan what you're going to do to get there. You plan where you're going to stay. Treat it like that.
See, that's what I'm saying. 22%, family. 22%. Sometimes we think we got to have the whole 100, like every Black person on earth needs to team up. We got the numbers, and it's within reach. 22%. 22%. I mean, this is what's happening. And brother, I remember me and you had a conversation before on the space. We spoke about how the great migration, or excuse me, the reverse migration started in the 70s. It really started before a lot of. Isn't it already in motion, family?
It's been in motion. My grandmother. It's funny. My family was always involved in each event of Black American history. When the Great Migration happened, my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother, she went up north to a cousin whose home she had never met with my 2 grand uncles, and then had my grandmother. My great-grandfather followed her up north. And I hear that story from so many people. And she did that in the 1930s, right around the time the Great Migration really started booming. The reverse migration started in the 1970s. And my grandmother said, I want to go south. And she came south. And then you know how it is with us Black families. Wherever grandmother goes, the family's going to eventually go.
The family going.
Right. So my great-grandmother went up north. Everyone pretty much followed her up there. When my grandmother went back south, everyone eventually followed her back here. And that's why, because in Black American culture, Southern culture, but Black American culture, whether it's Southern or not, grandmothers have such a powerful influence. So wherever grandmothers go, the family goes. And that's pretty much what happened with my family. And that's when my mother met my father. My father's family is one of the Southern families that never left, never went north. His mother did, my grandmother, but no one else had really. And so, yeah, the reverse migration had started in the 1970s. And now it's to the point where they're calling it the Great Evacuation.
Wow.
And y'all can Google it. It's a term that sociologists have coined now. The number of Black Americans leaving the Midwest and the Northeast. They call it the Great Evacuation. And the main city that's number one for ground zero is Chicago. Like 400,000 people have left Chicago within the past 5 years, which is like almost unheard of. And all of them have gone south, mainly Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Also some good news, and I know that we are a wealthless group in this country. You don't have to like it. None of us like it. That's why we're out here fighting for reparations, because that's why we're wealthless. We're not wealthless because we don't work hard. We're wealthless because of the lack of reparations. But the cities that have been shown to be the best for Black business owners, the majority are in the South. Raleigh, Charlotte, Atlanta, Houston, and one city that it doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's up and coming, is Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina, 803.
That's right, 803. So, y'all, I just want people, we have to put our personal comforts aside. Some people think that the South is too slow. Well, first of all, no, it's not, because you can find some southern cities that can definitely have more than enough for you to do. But even if it is, we make the recreation. We feel the need that's there. We come, we feel the need, and we hire our people to work for us. Right. That's what we did in the past when we went to these hinterlands and we built up our Black Wall Streets and our thriving towns. We made the recreation. Here in the Gullah area, we're the people that started juke joints. Remember, we were living on islands. We were living in the middle of swamps and marshes and and we were isolated from everyone else. And how did we have fun? Our people started juke joints, tiny little homes where they played music, served food, and partied and had a good time. So we feel whatever need we have. Why would we sacrifice our political and social clout just because we want to go to a rooftop bar in a city like New York City, where that's hostile to our people, where you got to get at least 2 other roommates to afford a small apartment with 1 bathroom? Because I see what's going on. New York City is almost inhabitable for the average person unless you're going to have at least 2 roommates, and that's according to the data. So we need to come back south where the cost of living is cheaper, land is cheaper and plentiful. The Black population numbers here are large and growing, and we have the ability to partner with our people because we are surrounded by us. We have the ability to hire us, work with us, and be protected and supported by us, because the people you have to cater to is us. But we don't quite have the state majorities we need.
For us, by us, only us. Another
That's
place
right.
that a lot of people come from is that Rust Belt up there in that Ohio, Michigan area, right there off the lake area. Yes, when them jobs start going down, which they've been going down since like the early 2000s, a lot of folks said we're getting the hell out of here. And
that's why you got a lot of Black people here from Illinois and Ohio. It's always been a thing with white people. A lot of white people who live here are from Ohio, but now even a lot of Black Americans that I'm meeting here are from Ohio. Some have roots here, even though the typical Black American person that went to Ohio was usually from like Alabama and Mississippi, but some do have roots here. Like my great-great-grandmother and my great-grandmother, I found out, moved to Ohio to take a nursing job because they couldn't get a job here. And I have properties in Ohio, I found out. I don't know if it's Cleveland or Dayton, but someplace up there in Ohio, I have property because they went there to work as a nursing job. So there was a small migration of South Carolinians, even though we mainly went to New York City and Philadelphia. There was a small migration of us to Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, and some parts in California, usually like Oakland, but it was very small. The vast majority of us went to New York City and Philadelphia. That's why every time we in our Twitter spaces and there's a Black American descendant of American slaves, and they say from New York City and Philadelphia, I say, okay, I already know you got roots in South Carolina or North Carolina, and they do, because that's where the majority of us went.
It's so interesting as well, because a lot of the culture that people took up north you guys are coming back home with the same culture. The culture's in you. You do so many things that are Southern based. It's not like you're coming to a place that you've never been or you don't have a vibe with. I literally just seen 4 or 5 people on Twitter this week that said they went back down south, went past the plantation or somewhere, felt some type of connection to the place, and found out later that spiritual connection that they actually had roots there, ancestral presence there. That's what you feel when you come to the South. A lot of food, soft shell crabs. That's right down this way. Hush puppies.
Yes.
That's right down this way.
Devil crabs, hush puppies, seafood salad, tomato and okra stew, aka the Geechee version of gumbo. But there's also culture that they've grown detached from. For example, I remember when I said to someone one time that I went to sweep the graveyard. I used to go with my cousins to sweep the graveyard at a little plot of land that we own in Boston. I don't know how we lost the majority of the land, but we still own the graveyard. Well, I kind of have an idea. And I told them we have to do a floral arrangement. They had no idea what I was talking about. And I had to explain to them in Geechee culture, and we didn't do tombstones really. We did flowers because usually 2 things happen. One, if they wanted to drain the swamp because they had no respect for us, even deaf, they would always go and really desecrate black graveyards. So we did floral arrangements, and we still do that. And then when I explained to them, people didn't know this, and I had to learn this myself. Like I had to learn that the second line that people usually associate with like New Orleans, Louisiana, they used to do that here in the Low Country. I don't know how it fell out of practice, but they used to do it here. I've read many books that prove it. Like I've read it, then I went and it was verified. That used to be a big thing here too. Another thing here, we already talked about watch night, but if I explained, like when I was telling someone about Dr. Buzzard stories, some people didn't even heard of Dr. Buzzard, which, is a big legend down here, which ties into another aspect of our culture, ties into root. Now, I know when people think of root, it's Gullah Geechee voodoo. When people think of putting a hex or a curse or root on, we say putting root on people. They didn't know what that meant. I explained to them. But I also have to explain to them that root is actually something to heal. Yes, it can be used to harm, but it's frowned upon. But it's something done to heal people. It came from the term snake doctor because our people were naturally experts at medicine, and they knew they believed in not just treating physical body, they believed in treating mental ailments, spiritual, emotional ailments. And they gave them the term snake doctors because they was usually called upon to be snake bites. And some of our people were emancipated because they were so talented with medicine naturally in a foreign land. Now, when I explain to people, that's a part of that work that we do. Explain to people the ring shout, which is a form of Gullah Geechee music that thankfully has not gone mainstream, even though you do have groups that travel and perform the ring shout. I had to explain to people tabby. Like, when I said tabby homes and tabby stairways, people are like, what's tabby? You talk about the cat, like a tabby cat? I'm like, no, tabby. It comes from the Gullah Geechee word tabox. There's just so much culture here. We can't possibly go through it all. Life everlasting tea. I didn't take medicine growing up. Like, only in extreme cases. My great-grandmother, my Nana, she would go and get life everlasting from the bushes, throw that plant in a big pot of water, boil it, and we had to drink that tea. If you had a fever, they would get Spanish moss and stuff it in a pillowcase. If you had high blood pressure, they would take it and put it in the bottom of your shoe and have you wear shoes all day. There's just so much culture to talk about. People don't understand. I know this is a traditional Southern thing where the elders are sitting out on the porch. People don't understand where that comes from. That comes from the fact that people didn't have air conditioning growing up.
Right.
And I'm talking about here, even in the 70s. Like my father told me he didn't grow up with air conditioning. The reason he didn't go to the school in the county where he grew up, which is Jasper County, the county where I am right now. Well, Jasper, right across the bridge,
county, y'all.
Like your neighboring county. Right. He went to Beaufort County because Beaufort County was one of the first counties down here where the schools had air conditioning. He wanted to know what it was like. So what people did back then, they sat on the porch. And sitting on the porch wasn't just something they did for physical comfort. It was also way to watch the kids in the community, to talk to the community. Everybody will gather around to hear stories. And that's what I did. And I didn't grow up in the 1950s. I was a kid of the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. And my great-grandma, Aunt Rena, who is still alive, 90, I'm not to tell her age, Aunt Rena, she's proud of that. She's bragging. Aunt Rena is 97, I think. That's how I got in touch with a lot of the folklore of Gullah Geechee culture. From my Aunt Rena and my Aunt Nancy sitting out on the porches. And these are my great-grandmas. My Aunt Nancy's deceased now. But sitting out on the porch telling us about our heritage and our history. I mean, people may think we're romanticizing the South, but no, it really is great. The issues we have here are not cultural issues. They're political, economical issues. They're failures of the politicians. However, the culture here is rich. The culture here is our culture. And this is where we need to be, y'all. And the reason I've been pushing it so aggressively is because it is now no longer a thing for us to do, because it's just, it's just something that we can just be culturally enriched. It really is a means of survival now. Or we are going to be at the mercy of all these other groups that are going to do policies to their benefit and not give a damn about us. They're already doing it. What you think they're going to do? They realize they have the number and we don't.
Rich tradition right there. That's the fact. It's rich tradition that we have down here, and it could play to our benefit, to piggyback off of what you're saying, because the melting pot that everybody used to brag about 5-10 years ago, especially during the Obama era, is a melting pot America. Melting pot America does not help freedmen at all. Okay. Anything that is of, kumbaya culture, and I do mean kumbaya culture, that never assists our people. Kumbaya, they be dancing like cheerleaders.
Kumbaya is a Geechee word. Kumbaya mean come here, and now kumbaya is one too.
Y'all mark that down. Kumbaya and then kumbaya. Put it down the center. But it's to the point where it really helps us out now that we stick together. Everybody talks about we all we got. Yes, we all we got. And to be honest with you, and I'm gonna say this, and I want the family to hear me on this one. It's time to a lot of us already do. How a lot of folks used to romanticize about Africa and put on dashikis and go watch the goddamn Black Panther premiere. Okay. The South is the motherland for us foundational Black Americans. Okay. The South is our motherland. We have to view it the same way these folks were viewing Africa 15, 20 years ago and talking about the motherland and all. This is our motherland right here in the South. You come down South and I'm telling you, you're going to feel it in your soul. And we're only, elaborating on it further. And like Brother Marcel said, politically is the issue. It's the old folks. And be honest with you, there's a new movement where we're really pushing them out and getting the new wave in of the new wave. And this is really what's changing the game. That actually brings me to this, brother. I'll call you the on-code candidate. Anybody who knows me, brother, I always call you the on-code candidate. You know what I'm saying? And you represent to me the Black grassroots. And what excites me is that we have, new Black media that can push a real narrative for our people. We have policy reparations for our people. And then we have a gentleman like you, which I call an on-code candidate. That is, politicians, or, I don't really like the term politician. I don't really like that either, but someone who's getting it done in the political world. People who are getting it done in the business world, people are getting it done in the media world, and now we have policies to back us. So speaking on that, in terms of reparations, family, because this is the push for everybody out there. No one ever thought this would be the era. And I always say this. I say there's 5 eras of, foundational Black Americans. I say we have our indigenous era. We have our slavery era. We have Reconstruction. We have civil rights. And you can call this the Freedmen era, the B1 era, whatever you want to call it, certified era. But this era right now, the reparations era. And who would have ever thought that, the people who have been through so much would actually get to the point where they get it. I think TBA said it best. He said 20 years ago, people laughed at it. 5 years ago, people didn't want to talk about it. Now it's really being pushed. And I know you
can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it. It's on their doorstep. And you know how Freedmen's are, FBA. We ain't too big on knocking for a long time. Eventually, we're gonna kick that damn door in and walk in the house. That's and then have a seat in the center. Hey, can you tell everybody how reparations is completely logical? It's not no pipe dream. It ain't something we hoping, wishing, coping for. It's something that can truly be done. And you had a great plan. And I want everyone to hear it. For those who haven't and those who heard it, hear it again, because we got to keep on knocking down that door.
Well, thank you. It's been a while since I've had to explain it, so I'm glad. Well, one, This country has reparations before. That's the thing I always want to bring up. Reparations has happened in this country before for atrocities the government has done years before they actually did restitution. So when people want to talk about something, oh, it's not fair, or it shouldn't do it, that's the damn lie. This country has done it several times, and they're doing it right now. They did it for Japanese Americans in 1988. I was 4 years old in 1988. What they did wrong to the Japanese happened in the 1940s. A lot of the Japanese they interned had died by the 1980s, and they paid it to their loved ones, their children, or sometimes the other descendants, their grandchildren, okay? They did it to Native Americans. They started doing Native Americans wrong in the 1700s. And then when the mid-1800s came around, they started doing a bunch of policies to do reparations for Native Americans. And to this day, they're still getting it. Some get direct payments, free education. They have free land. Some of them get to casinos where they get tax-free revenue so much that each member of a tribe gets $1 million in cash. They're doing reparations right now for people that was exposed to radiation in Colorado, New Mexico, I think Hawaii, and Guam. They're doing reparations for people in Guam right now who were taken as prisoners in World War II. A lot of them are dead, so they're paying it to their loved ones. They're doing reparations for Holocaust survivors. We helped stop the Holocaust. Black Americans have had more done to us than all of those groups combined and have never seen a penny. Yet we are the ones that reason why this country has the wealth. We are the reason why this country won many of the wars it's won. We've made inventions that have put this country at the forefront of technological advancement. And yet we went through not just chattel slavery, but the destruction of Black Wall Streets, exclusion from the GI Bill and the Homestead Act that gave white Americans the majority of their wealth, the Social Security Act, the Labor Union Act, Jim Crow, redlining, the separate but equal, was unequal, medical experimentation, mass incarceration, importation of drugs. The government has to be held responsible for that. If they realize they have to fix what they had done wrong to these other groups, why should we be made an exception? It can be done. Number two, there is a myth that the federal government runs based off of taxes, or that when the federal government spends money, we have to pick up the slack and higher taxes. Lie, lie, lie. It's a misconception, and maybe even I believed that once. State governments run off of taxes because they can't print their own currency. Federal governments can. The only thing the federal government has to worry about is that they don't put too much money into the economy at once. That causes what's called hyperinflation. Other than that, if the federal government spends money and they don't collect taxes to replenish it, it's no big deal because they don't need taxes. Matter of fact, that actually is healthy for an economy, because when the federal government spends money and they have debt, which in a fiat system, it's just numbers on a computer, the federal government can cancel debt anytime they want. Look at the PPP loans. Look at all the times we've canceled debt for corporations. But if the federal government chooses not to cancel debt, they simply turn debt into what's called bonds, which are yellow dollars. They look like our green dollars, but they're yellow. And what happens is banks buy bonds, investment firms buy bonds, credit unions buy bonds, other countries buy it, families, especially rich families, buy it. And the government pays interest on those bonds, and that pumps money into the economy. So reparations, third, will actually make this a wealthier country. According to a study by Citi Financial, which is one of the largest banking systems in the world, so powerful that they say if it was to ever collapse, the global economy would collapse too. Citi Financial did a study showing that because this country has not dealt with anti-Black racism and paid reparations to descendants of American slaves, this country has lost $16 trillion. Right now, as we speak, America is only worth $21 trillion. So we would be twice as rich if we had paid reparations in the year 2000. That number's from the year 2000. So if people from all over the world want to come to America now, imagine what America would look like and what it would have been had we done reparations in 2000. Imagine how much more money we would have had we done it in 1990, 1980, 1970, 1960. And you go back, the higher the amount of wealth that we could have had gets. So reparations can be done. The federal government can simply generate the currency. They don't have to print dollars. it can be digital currency from their system, the Treasury, to our accounts. It will enrich the nation. Black Americans, even though we have very little wealth, we still spend like almost $3 trillion in spending power. Spending power is not wealth. But imagine how much more money we will put into the economy. So even white business owners, and this disgusts me, but even some white people and other people might be against reparations, it would give them more money because they will have more clientele with more money to spend. It will make neighborhoods wealthier because the tax base will go up on the state level. It will be more businesses, more jobs, and it will be more inventions. We were inventing things as enslaved people, denied an education, not even knowing how to read. Imagine what we'll do with the best education because we've been paid what we're owed. If we did Black Wall Streets, we'll do Black Wall regions.
Brother, how do you feel about all these tethers and all these outsiders who are trying to slide in on the reparations panels now? You got folks that have nothing to do with reparations, have nothing to do with foundational Black Americans, have nothing to do with freedmen's, and they're trying to sit in on our panels and trying to discuss it. I personally feel either they're trying to get in on the reparations, or if they can't get it, they're trying to sabotage it. How do we go about stopping these tethers and stopping them from trying to eat off our plate, sabotage us, and hijack what we got coming for us?
That's why I push for federal reparations. All these local initiatives, they allow a lot of mud in the water. Okay, I'm in South Carolina. South Carolina's doing their own form of reparations. And now they inviting this one. Then Columbia is doing their reparations. Charleston's doing their reparations. Then you have all these people giving their opinions. Cut all that out. Federal government is the entity that had the responsibility to protect us. It did not protect us, and it terrorized us, and they're the ones that have the resources to pay us what we are owed. So if we were all focusing on the federal government, we can control the narrative because it will be all of us concentrating our efforts, our structure on the federal government only. But when you invite all these different ones to the party, it muddies the water. Now, that being said, there is some benefit to some of these state level reparations, which I don't like to call it that. Like in California, they set some very good precedents. One, they've done this aggregation where now you can no longer just say Black. Now it's what type of Black are you? Are you Jamaican?
Right.
Are you Brazilian? Or are you freedmen like us, descendants of American slaves? So that's good. California also did it where now it's going to be lineage based. So no, you don't get reparations just because you are Black and you chose to come to America. You don't get to turn around and say to America, well, you're racist and I came here, but pay me. No, that's for us. That's for the descendants of American slaves. Even Ann Coulter, a white woman who's very conservative, even she says America doesn't owe immigrants anything. America doesn't owe white women who want to cry about feminism or anything. But America, it's easy for a person to understand. America does owe Black Americans. So if we're going to spend money, we might as well invest in Black Americans, the only group we probably truly owe. We don't owe immigrants nothing. We don't owe feminists nothing. We don't owe Holocaust survivors anything. And I agree with her. Another thing I would say, in some cases, some of these people might be allies, like that Jamaican doctor up over there in California. What's Dr. Javon Lewis? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think that's his name, brother.
Okay, he stood up for lineage-based reparations, but that's a one-off. We already see a lot of these people, more than not, who feel that because reparations is not something that they're going to qualify for, they don't really give a damn. And what they try to do is say, well, all oppressed groups deserve something. Hell with that. Don't try to bring them in our goddamn stuff. Don't try to bring them in our goddamn stuff. If you want to do something for all oppressed groups, you leave that out of reparations. Reparations is to repair the wrong that was done. We are talking about the wrong of chattel slavery, Jim Crow, lynch mobs, land theft, redlining, sharecropping, debtors prison, vagrancy laws, mass incarceration. That was not done to all oppressed groups. That was specifically done to and for us. So if you want to do something that's going to solve the world of racism, do that on your own time. Reparations is not to solve the matters of racism. Reparations is not to solve the matters of inequality. Reparations is to make this country pay the debt that it owes to those 4 million people that were enslaved and emancipated by this country, who never got the promise this country was supposed to keep to them. But the same country went and did reparations for all these other groups, except for the group to whom they are most indebted. And that's how I feel. So we need to just focus on the federal level. That's why I'm encouraging us to run for office federally, so we can keep making sure that the narrative is under our control. Because a lot of people who are not Black American, they're Black immigrants, and some of those Black immigrants are tethered, meaning a Black immigrant whom they're trying to use reparations as some vehicle to do things for groups that are not owed by America. You cannot blame America for every problem in the world and then say America owes you, when you had no problems with America until Black Americans say, hey, America, y'all got to pay us now. Now all of a sudden you want America to pay you too. That's not how it works.
Hey, I've been saying that. I was like, as soon as we start saying reparations, remember back in the day, it used to be, y'all Katas, y'all ain't really Black, and y'all not real, y'all not from the homeland. As soon as we start saying reparations, then it turned into come home, brother. Then it turned into that. It also used to be, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. White supremacy is not so bad. Y'all need to get over it. As soon as we start talking about reparations, now all of a sudden they start saying, I have it bad too, brother. I have it bad. Racism affects me.
Right.
These people never, ever
they were
represented
telling us we just didn't work hard.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they've had it hard too. And it wasn't us just not working hard. So yes.
It's a flip-flop that they always try to do. I feel like our reparations claim literally has sent shockwaves through the whole world. Not even just America, the whole world.
Everything Black Americans do sends shockwaves to the world. The way we dress, the way we speak, the foods we eat, the shows, the music, the dances, the way we use accessories, our hairstyles, our movements, our sports, our involvement in sports, our inventions, everything we do sends shockwaves to the world. We're just a very specially amazing people that everyone tries to imitate, and because they can't quite imitate us, they hate us. Well, guess what? You can hate us. I don't give a damn. Reparations ain't for you to like me, me to like you. It's for you to pay me what you owe and leave us alone, because we can take it from there.
Hey, I tell them divisive is good. If you ain't been called divisive,
that's right. It is
at least
good.
Twice, you ain't doing it right.
That's right. Divisiveness is good. And like I say to people, we should, and someone like you got this I don't know, this Afro-Arab, Afro-Puerto Rican guy who likes to tell us that we're doing a race divide. And guess what? Damn right I am. We should have done a race divide a long time ago. The problem is with us as Black Americans, we want to love everybody and we want to bring everybody in and lock arms with everyone. That's our damn problem right there. We should have done a race divide a long time ago. You should always divide from those who are trying to hurt you. You should always divide and separate from coons in your midst. So yes, I am doing a race divide, and we should have done it a long time ago, because who was it on the plantations when our people, like Denmark Vesey, was about to do what was going to be the largest slave revolt probably in human history? When Denmark Vesey was going to do the slave revolt, why did it not succeed? Because some of those same Black people that were supposed to have his back went and snitched on him. Same thing during the civil rights movement. Why is it that some of our leaders were assassinated, like Fred Hampton, because some coons were in his midst? We should have long ago divided from coons. So that's what we're doing now, a race divide, dividing from the coons in our race. You're not my brother, you're not my sister, you are my enemy, and if push comes to shove, and if in the moment it has to be done, I will take you out.
I say regulating, reparations, separation. That's the motto right there.
And elimination.
And elimination. Y'all add that to it right there. That's what
elimination.
We have to do.
Now, I'm sick of them. I'm sick of coons.
Hey, I feel what you're saying, because had brothers and sisters handled this years ago, instead of being on Edmund Pettus Bridge and thanking the damn cops for whooping your ass and all that kind of stuff, that set a bad energy but credit to this era, we are the era that has circled the wagons. We have gatekeep. We have put it down. And I want everybody to know all the stuff that you see and all these tethers and all these minions and coons and suckers and whoever's coming at us, that's just a result of us being on code and getting rid of these people. You know,
right.
When the coons have it their way, they're smiling. Yeah, that shows you our success. They're afraid right now. All the little stuff that they putting on these little social media platforms and trying to stop us, that just means they're afraid. That just means they're scared. And it would not be that way if we weren't getting it done. Coons is showing their teeth, smiling, kiki and ha-ha when they got it in their way. But when we have it in our direction, you start to see this right now. The Democratic Party is shook. I made a video called How to Break a Democratic Shield, and I broke it down on how to do it. And I want to ask you, to speak to the family about how right now is a time where the Democrats are in complete desperation and how they need the black vote more than ever. And we have them really right where we have them. We can take it anywhere we want to go with it because foundational Black Americans are the voter block and they don't really have much of a choice. And the Republicans, Democrats, it's a two-way plantation, but the black voter has them against the ropes wobbling and they shook right now.
They are definitely shook. That's why you even got Twitter now pretty much saying they're going to censor people if they spread election misinformation or something that discourages people from voting. Where was all that before when you had people who were Donald Trump supporters saying they weren't going to bother to vote because they felt that no matter what, the election was going to be given to Joe Biden? You know what? They were probably right. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, anyway, I'm with you on that one, brother.
Right. They were probably right. But in any case, we'll talk about that one later. But Twitter didn't see the need to launch their little integrity platform. Now that Black Americans are saying, yeah, the Republicans suck. Ain't no one ever said the Republicans were great. But guess what? The Republicans don't go around saying they're great. They don't even pretend to be like they're good. Lindsey Graham will let you know who he is. Mitch McConnell tells you who he is. They don't try to put a smile on their face and tell Black people, we're going to do this for you. The Democrats, furthermore, and most importantly, let's say the Republicans are at store A and the Democrats are at store B. I don't work for store A, but if I spent day and night working for store B, what I look like going to store A and telling them to pay me, they're going to look like me like I'm a damn fool and tell me I need to take that up with store B. We have been giving almost 100% of our votes to the Democrats. I have done research. It was tedious. I looked up votes in other countries. There is no other group in the world that votes for a party almost 100% engagement. The only other examples I saw of where a party gets 100% of the votes are in dictatorships. Damn. That's it. Black Americans are the only group that just gives almost all of their votes to a party, no matter what, even when that party has failed you. They have failed you because you've been voting for them for 60 years. And let's look at the math. You went from you have under 1 million acres of land. 1 million. You had 16 millions in the 1910s when racism was horrifically blatant against Black Americans. Now you just have 1 million. Meanwhile, you have white Americans like Bill Gates alone buying up farmland everywhere. You even got foreign countries like China buying up farmland. You have illegal immigrants that you have an article saying how illegal immigrants are living the American dream, buying homes and property. And guess who's helping them do it? The Democrats. Black American men, our life expectancy has actually dropped by a few years. In a country, Black American women are more likely to die giving birth to a child than a woman in Syria, in Afghanistan.
Damn.
Okay? We own less homes now than we did during the days of Jim Crow, okay? We are heading towards zero wealth. 30% of Black American families already have a negative net worth, even though we are as educated as we've ever been. The only thing we have to show for our college degree is not more wealth, is the fact that we have the highest amount of student debt, okay? So we are 15 to 20% of the population, but 60% of the homeless. This is what we have to show after being Democrats for 60 years. When we were under Republicans, at the very least, we had land, okay? Things weren't going good, and the Republicans weren't doing the damn thing for us, really, but at least we had land. So when we started voting for the Democrats, really around the 1940s, but then big numbers, the 1960s. This is their report card. This is the real math. I don't want to hear what they tried to damn do. They don't go to any other group and say, well, I tried. When they go to other groups, they say, I'm going to get it done, and they get it done. They sure got a hell of a lot done for Ukrainians.
Yep.
They've got a hell of a lot done for Afghani refugees. They're getting a hell of a lot done for illegal immigrants. They're getting a hell of a lot done for the LGBTQ plus IA. I don't even know what the plus IA stands for. So the only group they seem to never be able to deliver for are Black Americans, the people. If they did not have our votes, there would be no Democratic Party. So now the Democrats are worried. And now you have some like Van Jones and Roland Martian trying to use our talking points. They're trying to talk like us, and they're trying to get our people emotionally invested in them so that our people can have faith in them. And then when our people start listening to them because they think Van Jones and Roland Martian has their best interests at heart, then they pivot to stupid crap like, oh, that's why we need the Voting Rights Act. That's why we need the George Floyd and Policing Act. That's why we need to cancel student loans. Damn all of that. What we need is reparations. What we need is compensation for the land that's been stolen. What we need is return of the Freedmen's Bureau, staffed and managed by freedmen, descendants of American slaves. What we need is an initiative to bring back our Black Wall Streets nationwide. What we need is to incentivize Black Americans back to the South and get Black Americans back to farming. Don't you use our story to highlight a problem, but then when you highlight the solution, it's a solution for everyone but us. If it's our pain and our problem, then the answer needs to be ours too.
Facts. Down here in Georgia, Mammy Luther King, Stacey Abrams, she literally went on, Mammy Luther, she went on there and told everybody, well, you can't do anything for Black folks because you only represent this much of the population, that's a whole, like you said, bro, that's a whole nother issue about the population.
Whole story, because we know that's a lie. We know
that's some bullshit. Oh, right.
And she knows that.
Yeah, she knows that. One minute is, we can't do nothing for you guys because you're a small group. And by the way, you did shit for other groups that are way smaller than us. So that's a lie, exposed. And then on top of that, now she comes out and said, Black men vote for us, I win, or basically some shit like that.
Exactly. I thought we were too small. So
I thought we were too tall.
You saying you can't do anything for us because we're not a big enough portion of the population, which, by the way, Stacey Abrams, when she was going around whining about losing her election to Brian Kemp, which I believe that she was done wrong, but you know what? I think that was probably a good thing in the long run, because all she would have done is had our babies being aborted left and right and had illegal immigrants running. All she would have done. But she was going around talking about the numbers. So she knows how to crunch numbers. So if anyone knows that the census data is wrong, it's her. Don't tell me that little old me has read the public reports that the census has done, that the NAACP, the Urban League, the National Action Rainbow Coalition have all done, showing that the census has undercounted Black Americans by a minimum of 10%. Don't tell me I have read that and Stacey Abrams has not. Don't tell me she has not read the fact that the census in the 1980s used to undercount Black Americans by 50%. In 2010, they missed 4 million of us. And now in 2020, they said it's twice as many they've missed. Don't tell me she doesn't know that. So that's BS.
Good point, brother. Good point.
Right. And second of all, she's running a race in Georgia. Georgia is 32% Black, according to the census. We know that's an undercount. So how the hell are you going to talk about something where only 12% of the population? That's a goddamn lie. And if you are running a race in Georgia, you are worried about Georgia. 32% of the population, you can win almost off that number alone. Third of all, you've gotten your behind out there and you push for policies for illegal immigrants, which they estimate is like 20 million. That's way too many illegals in the country for me, but that's smaller than the Black population, which who knows that it's around 50 million according to the census. We know it's more than that. But you are going to hard back for illegal immigrants. You are going out your way for Asian Americans that are what? Something like 4%.
Yeah, like 4%.
Georgia's population. Okay, so stop. Just say that you are a coward, you are a sellout, and you don't want to do anything for us. I don't like Perdue. What's his name? Sonny Perdue.
Sonny Perdue.
I'm not a fan of Sonny Perdue, but one thing he said was true. There was an issue that came up by illegal immigration, and Stacey Abrams. I don't know if this was her exact words or not, but she says something along the lines of when the issue of illegal immigration came up. I don't think she said it the way he tried to make it. Okay, but Stacey Abrams pretty much says something along the lines of, "Oh, Black Americans don't want to farm anymore. You know that we've looked past agriculture." That's not how she said it. Sonny Perdue exaggerated it and took it out of context. She said that Black Americans shouldn't have to go into agriculture to make a living. Okay, we shouldn't have to go through all the stuff we go through to get specific policies either. The fact of the matter is, the reason she said that is because she wants to run Georgia farms with illegals, and she wants farming to stay in the hand of these usually white elites and illegal immigrants. And Sonny Perdue called her out on that. And guess what? In that case, I agree with him. We should be incentivizing Black Americans to return to agriculture. We are the best farmers in the nation, have always been.
Yes, sir. Tell people about the corruption that you see with the Democratic Party and a lot of these, not just, federal, even locally, where a lot of these votes, these voter machines, these voter fucking blocks, a lot of them are corrupt as hell. And a lot of times when people go to vote, they're always pushing, go vote, go vote, go vote. Should we get tangibles? No, a Voter Rights Act. Should we get reparations? No, a Voter Rights Act. Should we fucking breathe? No, a Voter Rights Act. But when people go to vote, there is a lot more to it in terms of corruption. This is how people like James Coon Clyburn, who's waking up in fish fried cold sweats tonight, and he did last night.
Exactly.
This is how they stay in power for so long, and it ain't because people overwhelmingly support them. It's not. A lot of this is corruption. Right here in Savannah, Van R. Johnson, whatever, the Coon, the mayor.
I hate
Coon.
Woo! I hate that Coon with all my goddamn heart.
Man,
I hate
man.
that damn guy.
Hey, that man family, if y'all don't know this man, Google this man. This man is a class A coon.
I got to get over there, actually. Damn it. I missed it. Because there are people organizing to get that coon out of there. And I told them I'm going to be there with them. So I got to get over there, actually.
Family, hey, man. Hey, I might have to pull up as well. Because you know what? I had a friend of mine who actually had encountered him at some little event or whatever. Pressed him on, because, he ran the whole Asian hate thing. And he was running that heavily. Yeah, and you saw he was acting like
a task force for them. But none for the majority of Savannah's population, which are Black Americans, but for Asian illegals.
Rolled out the red carpet, rolled it out, and just ran the same thing, family, that y'all seen nationally. This guy was doing this in a majority Black place. So it shows you the type of time that this guy's on. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of just local Democratic pandering and posturing and a lot of the local stuff, what do you see out there in Carolina in terms of just how they rig elections, they rig propaganda, smear, all that type of stuff?
It's too much. First of all, I do believe that this election that I ran against Clyburn was corrupted for so many reasons. One, like I said, I spent almost $200,000. I don't know, over 1 million emails, 500,000 text messages. I don't know, tens of thousands of phone calls, 200,000 doors we knocked on, over 300 commercials on television, over hundreds of commercials on streaming television, radio advertisements, over 80 interviews, several public appearances, 30 meet and eats. No one was spending that type of money and hitting the ground like we were, my team and I. But not just that. You saw what Clyburn had to do. He had to get Kamala Harris to come down and endorse him. Why would he go through all of that for a person that was only going to get 4% of the vote? I know he must have posters on his team. I know he works for political strategists. So they had to, don't tell me these people are so bad at their job that they let this man go through all of that for a person who was never going to be a threat in the first place. So I don't believe that. Two, his daughter's the political director. He was given advertisement and unfair endorsements by the party that the other candidate and I did not receive. But we paid the same amount of money to run as a Democrat that he had. But he was given special privileges to advertise, special shout out, endorsement by the South Carolina chair. Number three, the Republican Party throughout several of their elections in different cities. Greenville is one that I know of for sure. I heard Richland County as well, which is Columbia. because they said there was evidence showing that the voting machines were not calibrated correctly. And in Richland, this is facts here, two guys called the police because a tamper cell, which is not supposed to be removed, and if it's removed, you're not supposed to use that machine. That shows the machine's been tampered with, was removed from a voting machine. And they called the police and filed the police report. The site supervisor said they did that to reboot the machine for the runoff, but the tamper cell is not supposed to be removed. Second, I had people telling me, and you remember on Twitter, I said this, people told me my name had not appeared. So one is an older couple we made contact with. We're trying to get them to file an affidavit, but they are afraid. But it wasn't just me. There were other candidates. Republicans are the ones I know of who had the same reports. And these municipal level Republican parties said the evidence was valid enough for them to throw it out. Now, eventually, the South Carolina Republican State Party certified the election. But you have to remember, they're like the Democratic State Party. They, too, want who they want in office. They, too, have special interests.
Right.
Then, another thing I would say is I find it strange, and I don't believe in coincidences, that Clyburn in December 2021, he wrote a bill, all the land that Black Americans have had stolen. This man has sat there, not done a damn thing to help us get our land back or even compensation. But he writes a bill for the Catawba Native Americans who were former enslavers to get 20 acres of land to build a casino. Now that the election is open, this article comes out that his brother has gotten too many shares, possibly, in that casino. And now there's a federal investigation. Now that screams to me that no matter what happened, they were going to make sure Clyburn won because there's too much money to be made for this casino that he was integral in writing a bill to make happen.
Wow.
Tell me that doesn't sound corrupt that's hell to you.
Ultra corrupt, the hell.
But I want to say this, Black Alpha, too. I'm working with a group of people, and these are people that I may not agree with a lot politically. Some of these people are ultra, I don't want to say ultra conservative. Some of them you may classify as far right, whatever. But the thing with them is, really, and I've had conversations with them, they don't give a damn. They know I'm that reparations guy. They know I'm, not backing down about that. They don't care. Their main thing is making sure that elections are fair because they are smart enough to realize, even though they may have some beliefs that I think are a little out there, and to be fair, they may think some of my beliefs are out there. We both understand that if we want to see our platforms come to fruition, we can have the best candidates in the world. We can run the best races in the world. It's not going to mean anything if the election can just be stolen or corrupted. So we have all decided to put our political differences aside because that's a small thing in the grand scheme of things, and to focus on election integrity. And I met with 12 of them the other day, and these people have some serious connections. There's a lot of things I'm working on that I want to share with y'all. That's one thing I can make public, and this is recently. Like, I've been working with them for a while, but now I can make it public. There's a lot of other projects on which I'm working on, and I got to keep it on the wraps because if Clyburn gets wind of it, his little croonies around here who don't give a damn about you, they don't give a damn about me, they don't give a damn about any Black American. They only care about themselves. And Clyburn makes them a lot of money. And because Clyburn makes them a lot of money, they don't give a damn how bad our people suffer as long as they benefit. Those sellout coons, they will definitely do something to try to sabotage my plan. So I have to keep certain things on the wraps until the opportune time.
When the time is right. Hey, you see a lot of, I remember you mentioned this before, and this is to what you're saying right now. You've seen a lot of anti-Blackness from liberals, and well more than conservatives, right?
Way more. Okay, white conservatives, of course they're anti-Black, a lot of them. But because they know that everyone's going to think they're anti-Black, they kind of go out their way to prove that they're not the stereotype that people have of them, especially the Trumpers. Right. I've dealt with them a lot, as you can imagine. I'm South Carolina, rural South Carolina. And I think I think they already know that people are going to stereotype them fair or unfairly as being anti-black, bigot, closed-minded. So they kind of go out their way to prove that's not who they are. White liberals who think that we think that they're our allies think that we have some type of, like they have some type of clout with us. So they think they can say whatever the hell they want to do. Well, you know, when I came around, that all stopped. You know it stopped when I entered the room. First of all, you're not going to talk about, oh, you being discriminatory against a woman's right. You know, white liberals, way more than white conservatives. White liberals like to act like they're the victims of society. Just that. You ain't no damn victim. You are a descendant of an enslaver. These poor white Southerners, more than likely, they were probably descendants of the white family that wanted to have slaves but couldn't afford it. These white liberals are the descendants of the wealthy white elites that did have the slaves and could afford it. So you are the victim. You are a descendant of a victimizer. You are no victim. You have your job because of affirmative action that was meant for me. You are no victim. You have helped to murder 20 million black babies. You are no victim. You are a victimizer. You have sat back and watched Black America's wealth, Black America's political clout, Black America's job security, the little we had, get decimated by bringing in illegal immigrants. And you want to bring in more illegal immigrants. You want to kill more black babies while not doing a goddamn thing about the black people living on the streets. We make up 60% of the homeless, but we're 50 to 20% of the population. You're doing nothing about that. You're not saying nothing about reparations, but you want us to believe that white conservatives are our enemies and you are our friends. Just because you may think you're not as bad as they doesn't mean you're any better. They are the worst races. They are the worst, biggest anti-black people, and black people who think that they are Democrats first instead of black first. Those are the most awful fools I've ever met.
I was just about to say that, family. The I'm not black, I'm OJ. It's the I'm not black, I'm a Democrat crowd.
I'm a Democrat, exactly. Those are the biggest sellouts there are.
I've noticed so many times, brother, that whenever the liberals act like black folks are their property, you know, it's like they own black folks, don't they? With the conservatives, you know, like you said, this moment, I'm over here, you over here, we can meet in the middle on whatever we have to meet in the middle.
When I met white conservatives who didn't like what I was saying, the most you may get from them is to get a job. You know, I get that, you know, that ignorance. I get messages like that sometimes. Or I may get something like, you know, you won't get a penny from me, you know. I get those type of messages every now and then. But other than that, they kind of stay in their lane, and I stay in mine, and that's kind of it. The white liberals, what they do, if you don't agree with them, they have the audacity that they can come in your lane and tell you what you should be doing. And then when you tell them how messed up and they need to go in their lane because they're about to crash, they don't want to hear it. I will deal with white conservatives any day over a white liberal. And a white conservative is not the same as a white racist. People tend to think white conservative equals white racist. No, there are, and I can tell you, a lot of these white liberals are far more anti-black than any white conservative I've met. I promise you they are.
I have more of a better experience dealing with Southerners, white Southerners down here than when I went to California. California, anybody who's been down south and been to California, compare the two W's that you see. You can come right here in Georgia. They may say, hey, man, you want to watch the Bulldogs play? Have a beer, watch the Bulldogs play. Exactly. You go ask that to them surfers out there and them Silicon Valley ass people in Cali. Not happening. Not happening. They are completely anti-black that way. Completely.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I get along better with some of these. They have wealth because they own their property, and you know, because they're not black, they didn't have their wealth taken from. They have more wealth than us. But some of these like working class type whites, I can get along better with them any day than these white liberals.
Yes.
I can go on about how disgusting of individuals a lot of them are, but that's for another day.
That's a fact, brother.
Now, I want to say real quick.
Yes, sir.
A white liberal is not the same as a white person who's a Democrat that might be on cold. A white liberal is a whole different kind of beast that we'll talk about some other day.
Me and my brother say that all the time. We said they'll be liberal when it comes to animals. They'll be liberal when it comes to weather. Healthcare. When it comes
to black Americans.
Same old.
Perfect example. Bernie Sanders.
Killer Mike, I hope you heard that. Bernie Sanders, exactly. He will turn into the ultra anti-black anytime it comes to a black issue. You talking about free the dolphins, or free the squirrels, or free the damn bluebirds or the redbirds? His ass is Mr. Liberal. You turn into black folks, then all of a sudden he becomes worse than Donald Trump 10 times.
Conservative.
Super conservative. When it comes to anti-blackness, they all practice that stuff, but it's different levels to it. Now, going to 2024, brother, I know you said that you're about to go ahead and launch, for 2024. It's on the way now, coming. I want everybody to donate to my brother Marcel right now. It's right here on the screen. You guys make sure you do that. What are some of the, because I'm gonna tell you right now, what you did in 6 months, family, was phenomenal. And that shows you and anybody out there, and I know people personally who DM me and said that they were completely inspired. By the way, man, my mother said hello, man. My mom said hello, man. She watching WTOC, man, and she sees you on there, man. So my mother said hello.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, man. Well, she said, make sure you tell them I said hello. I said, I will, mama. I got you.
Tell Mama I said hello.
Facts, man. It's a low country thing, y'all. But yes. Going forth and to 2024, which is, we're getting a head start, because everybody says, man, if you did what you did in 6 months, I think I spoke to Tariq one time, and I said, if Brother Marcel did what he did in 6 months, man, imagine him having a real head start where we can all galvanize, mobilize, and get behind him. I know it's an ever evolving process, but what are some of your early things that you got focused on for 2024, and just some of the things that you got going on right now in the early stages?
Well, one, I'm working with other candidates because we have to have infrastructure. So while I'm doing my reelection, I'm working with other candidates who you probably can't say they're reparationists, but they understand. And not all of them are Democrats either. Some of these are Republicans, and some of these are white Republicans. But they understand that you can say, I have something for Black Americans specifically, because Black Americans have not been treated right by this country. And the Democrats, this is what a lot of white Republicans tell me all the time. They would tell me this. They would say, you know what? I don't really agree with reparations, but the Democrats have given so much money to Ukrainians, Afghanistan, countries that hate us, illegal immigrants. They might as well give it to y'all, because at least y'all Americans, okay, whatever. So some of them are willing to do specific for Black voters. And I told them, I tell my people to vote for the policies, not for a party. So if a Republican comes along and they have a good platform for Black voters, vote Republican. If a Democrat comes along and they have a good platform for Black voters, vote Democrats. The Independent, Constitution, Green Party. And there's another party in South Carolina y'all need to look into. It's called the United Citizens Party. If they come along and they have a good platform specifically for Black voters, vote for United Citizens. I tell people that's how we have to operate. Vote for policy, not for a party. So I'm working with people of all parties on specifics that they have for descendants of American slaves, not Black immigrants, but actual Black Americans. I'm working with them, helping to get their name out there, and it helps to get my name out there. And it also helps me to build alliances, because one thing I realized that I needed, even though I do feel that this election was stolen from me, I'm not saying I would have won, but I feel like a lot of my votes were stolen from me. And I don't care if it was just 2 votes that were stolen from me, it was 2 votes I should have had for the story. But I realized that I have to have a ground presence. So I'm working with these other candidates, getting out there on the ground for them, also getting my name out there. I'm also trying to get my South Carolinians, Black especially, to come to the Black Caucus meetings, because we have people there who are friendly to the reparations message, especially ever since I ran for my campaign. So in one day, I was able to get 30-something enrolled in the Black Caucus. Our meeting will be August 25th. One of the best ways to get the attention of people in office, because a lot of people in the Black Caucus are Black people who already work for the government, like they're office holders, they work for the government. One of the best ways to get their attention is you speak up for what you want to see. The next meeting, you have 5 more people saying the same thing as you. Next meeting, you have 10 more. Next meeting, 20 more. So I have 30-something more. And when they do their little events throughout the state, the people that I brought to the caucus who are reparationists like you and I, we're going to be right there bringing our message there. So I'm getting my name out. I'm getting out the message of reparations in the state of South Carolina to hopefully get it to Congress so we can get throughout these here United States of America. I'm working on some other things, but I have to keep them under wraps right now, but there are things that I think are going to help benefit my community. And that is the extent of it. Right now, I'm trying to raise funds. I can't overestimate how important it is that if a person can donate. I'm not going to be able to take on Clyburn if I'm not able to get my name out there. The last time, I feel like I would have won by a wider margin where they would not have been able to have stolen it so easily, at least, if I had more of a ground team. But also, people didn't even know who I was until like the last month or until May. I started getting money in late March. I started bringing in tens of thousands of dollars. And then by the time May came around, I brought in $90,000. In June, I brought in like $100,000. I started bringing in big money during those times, big money for me. And people started saying, I saw you on TV. Well, I saw you on TV. I need that to happen for months on end. People have to see and hear from me long enough to remember me, long enough to not just, once they hear from me long enough to remember me, then they have to hear from me again to listen to me. Then they have to hear from me again long enough to have faith in me, to see that I'm consistent. But that takes money. And honestly, I'm not getting the money in. And if our people want reparations to happen, we are going to have to invest in it happening. And that's just the facts.
Brother, I'm going to say it like this, man. I got a lot of faith in you, man. I definitely appreciate you all the way, man. Beyond just the low country thing, that's already a thing. But,
yes,
as a fellow Freedman, man, foundational, and I'm going to speak to the family. I want everybody out there right now. It says on my screen, Marcel for Congress, donate. I want you to donate. Stop, donate again.
And subscribe, do a donation subscription.
Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you follow my brother right here on all platforms that he's on and donate, and make sure you get them subscriptions, and make sure we put our whole support behind brother Marcel. I'm not talking about half, not 52%, not 33 and a half. No, not none of that. I want the whole 100. Everything that we speak, we purport, we proclaim, and we profess that we want. I'm talking about from reparations to tangibles to black empowerment. If you speak it, believe it, receive it, and you guys make sure that it happens. And I mean that. And it's a process that we're on. You want black empowerment, we have it. We want black political power, we have it. We want some black excellence, we have it. So I want everybody right now, and spread the word. My brother, by the way, was in Ohio, and he hit me up asking about you, man. So he's way up north. So, man, brother, you all throughout, the whole continent, man, the 50 states, all the way live, man. And I seen you, when you first kind of came on scene, man, you just took off, man, and I was proud, man. I was like, man. Then when I seen that you was on the other side of the bridge, I was like, yeah, we really working. But
right here in Jasper.
Anything you need, man, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's the smallest thing, man, I'm right on the other side, man. I don't mind hopping in the ride and coming on over that bridge, man, and going to work with you in the trenches, man. I know you're loyal to the soil, you know what I'm saying? And you represent everything real good, family. So, I want the whole, certified black societies, I call it, all my foundational black Americans, or my freedmen, whatever you call yourself. If you are a part of our culture, lineage, and heritage, make sure that you donate to our brother and get ahead of the curve, because we do know, and if you guys understand this, we have all the momentum. We have all the excellence on our side. We have the truth on our side. We have the power on our side. The Democrats are scared for a reason. The political establishment is, they're scared for a reason. They're not running around here calling Collard Green Kamala on the phone. Clyburn's not waking up in fish fry cold sweats. The Ku Klux Klan ain't out here running the streets. They're out here because we have them shook. You know what I mean? They scared, and they know they scared, and we know they're scared. And that's really what, it's all about. So, each one teach one. We all do a little. We all do a lot. You know what I'm saying? We building, we working, we shining, we grinding. And this right here is an example of it. Be proud to be a foundational black American, everybody. Be proud to be a freedman. Be proud to live in this era right here, which I feel is the most exceptional era. And understand everything we want, we have right in front of us. Like my brother just said, if you want black empowerment, invest in it. It just takes a little, man. And I got to quote something you said before, brother, and I took it. You said they can outspend us, but they can't outwork us. And I remember you saying that before. And I live by that motto, man. That's a real good point right there, man. And, and I continue to push that as well. I want to ask you one more question, family, before we wrap this on up. In terms of freedmen, I know people say American Negro. People say, I know it's FBA. I like to use the term certified black society. You're one of the few people I feel like me as well. We're neutral. We don't have cliques and crews and none of that stuff. We're about, the culture, the lineage, and the heritage. Can you stress to people the importance of being right in the center, man, and not getting caught in some of that nonsense that a lot of people get caught in?
Listen here, we just got to focus on getting reparations for the descendants of American slaves, okay? Freedmen is the only legal term of all the terms that get thrown around on social media. Freedmen is a political classification. Things like Negro, Black American, African American, that's race. But we're not doing reparations based on race. Okay, that's what that Michael Harriot tried to do when he was trying to throw shade at what happened in California, and I checked him because he knew, like I knew, if you do it based on race, it'll never happen. But if you do it based on lineage and political status, we have the political status of a freedman, being a descendant of American slave. It's recognized by Congress. But socially, call yourselves whatever, but you better not try to make that some wedge issue and take away from the momentum of this reparations movement, because then I'm looking at you as an enemy and I'm coming for you.
Checkmate on that. Well, that right there, baby, that's foundational Black American excellence on top of it all, man. Everybody out there, man, y'all stay good. I'm going to wrap this up with my brother, man. And as y'all listen to this and you guys, play the playback or however you hear it, make sure what you hear in here, man, we go practice it in the world. And we really take truth to power. We transmit what we speak, what we read, what we think, and then we put it into real action. Real action. You make sure you support my brother right here. You guys make sure you support each other as well. On the Black Alpha Network, I always end it by saying Black is beautiful and beautiful is Black. But let's make sure that we do this for the whole team and for the whole family. Brother, you got any last words you want to say before I go ahead and wrap this on up for the team?
Nope, that's it, Alpha. Thank you for having me.
Always, family. You guys stay good. You guys stay safe. You all stay one, stay vigilant, look over each other's shoulders, and make sure you remember all the time, Black is beautiful and beautiful is always Black.
Thank you.
Trust me when I tell you that.